French Empire could not be more different than the Spanish Empire. Of course, both empires were Catholic, both empires were European in origin, and both empires were interested in extracting as much profit from the region as possible. But the Spanish Empire had a reputation of being cruel, while the French Empire had the reputation of being kind to the Native Americans. Here's a comparison of the French and Spanish empires on a global scale at their heyday, and they're comparable. And if you compare just the North American and South American regions of the world, you'll see that they overlap. The French and Spanish empires actually had the same region, that sort of Louisiana Purchase area of North America. This is images of their heyday, but they represented that both empires managed to do quite well on a global scale. So the French Empire is quite big, but it could be more different. While the Spanish Empire quickly becomes filled with people, the French Empire remains quite small in terms of the European population. While the Spanish Empire is known for its cruelty to Indians, the French Empire is known for its friendly relations with Indians. While the Spanish Empire is in a warm, fertile, rich land, the French Empire is in a cold, barren land. The Spanish Empire makes a lot of money and helps push inflation on Europe. The French Empire is a losing proposition in terms of money. The French have a few goals after they decide that the Spanish are no longer worth just pirating. Instead, the French decide that they should establish their own colony, and they're trying to figure out where. It can't be too close to Spain, the Spanish Empire, because they don't want to fight the Spanish. They want their own moneymaker. So they decide on North America, near the St. Lawrence River. It's a safe distance from the Spanish. There's good thick furs. The Native Americans are especially good hunters up there, and it has a very deep water access into the continent of America, more than any other accessible river. Also has a good possible harbor at Quebec, which could produce a protected fortress place. So they discovered 3 reasons once they arrived there why it's worth staying and putting money into. One of them is the fur trade. It turns out this area is very rich in animal furs. They can get animal furs from the local Native Americans, but they do not have the manpower or the knowledge to kill the beavers themselves. And they can sell back in Europe these furs at a huge markup, especially beaver, which they turn into top hats. The Native Americans, in return, like the European goods. The native groups in New France get invested very quickly in these European manufactured goods. Now, these Native Americans believe that all things have a spirit, and bright and shiny things have a greater spirit, so metal things have greater spiritual value. Eventually, they learn to use the metal objects for utilitarian purposes, but at the beginning, the value of the metal objects is for spiritual purposes. Now, some groups, like the Abenaki, they start to hunt year-round to get more pelts, to get access to more European products, and they start overkilling the beaver. They quickly run out of beavers in their own area and have to go into neighboring Indian areas to get beavers. So they're taking beaver away from the lands of weak Native American groups, and those Native American groups don't have access to European goods like knives, axes, and guns. And so this is one of the significances of the fur trade. It increases competition for European goods among Native Americans. It increases fighting amongst each other, and they become increasingly reliant on European goods. One of the consequences of this is the Morning Wars. Now, the Morning Wars are the consequence of the fur trade in that as these Native American groups need more European goods, they need to keep hunting, they need to invade other territories, it leads to more conflict with other groups. They use new weapons to get the upper hand on these weaker groups. They start to terrorize their enemies, and instead of open warfare, which traditionally meant a lot of show but not a lot of casualties, they start doing raiding parties on other Native Americans. They kill men and take captives. They then, if they have any captive men, they kill the men off in a very torturous method. And that's a way of gaining the strength of their enemies. And then they take the women and children, and they don't torture them, but adopt them into kinship. So each captive replaces a lost tribe member, who then takes on the identity and role of that lost tribe member. And it's a way of warfare to satiate their own mourning. Their own grief. So this increases Indian warfare. Right? You have to keep taking captives to replace the ones that were lost either through death or through captivity. And it has a cyclical effect. For every Indian who dies, they have to kill or capture another one from another group, who then has to do the same thing to replace that Native American. It's never-ending, self-propagating warfare, and is very self-destructive. Now, France is devotedly Catholic, and they believe that the Native Americans can be saved. The French want to turn the Native Americans into Christians. This is not self-serving, this is a real goal for them. So they set up missions, religious missions. They get lots of rich Frenchmen to send money for that reason. And the Native Americans are sort of taken in by Jesuit missionaries. So these are called Black Robes. And these Jesuit missionaries work really hard to convert them. They learn the language, they go to the villages. They're sincere in their devotion to try to work with Native Americans, not impose on them, but convince them that this is the right way. Now, the Black Robes seem very weird to Native Americans. The Jesuits don't sleep with women, they don't wear fur, they're not hunters, and so there's a lot of hesitancy towards this group. But the Jesuits, through just pure perseverance and dedication, they become moderately successful. It is very slow going. Now, the French also decide to stay in New France in a way to stop the English. The English, who are France's sort of longtime enemies, are by the 16th and especially by the 17th century establishing their own colonies in North America. And the French believe that they cannot let the English take everything. They have to have a colony to stop the English from taking over. And they're increasingly relying on the Native Americans to be their allies against any English incursion. They need to make sure that the Native Americans prefer the French to the English so that they remain French allies, and so that encourages them to continue to treat them kindly. They establish a series of trading posts and missions from the St. Lawrence River down to the Great Lakes and even beyond over to the Mississippi. The problem is that New France never has a lot of colonists. So in 1627, there are only 85 French colonists in New France. By 1650, there are only 500 colonists. And by 1663, there are only 3,000 colonists. By 1663, the English have 58,000 colonists. So in comparison, the English put a lot of people on the ground, and the French just don't. The French, therefore, need to use the Native Americans already there to stop the English, rather than convincing more French to arrive. And there's just not a lot of French who want to go to New France because it's pretty cold, it's a lot of hard work, and there's always the possibility that you could be killed through torture.